The Altoga modules aim at supporting the management needs of most organizations. We are talking about many areas and modules.
This chart summarizes the main modules and support areas.
Well, given the diversity of the applications, a common interface to them all is essential. One single way to interact with different modules, so that a user who learns how to work with one module may easily work with any other ones. This interface, in addition to being common and unique, must be simple and easy to learn, robust, put to the test through many years of experience, and comprehensive in terms of facilities it provides. And of course, the interface must be 100% web. These are applications which only require the user to have a browser. There is no need to install the applications locally. This is the case of the Altoga interface we are about to show. The Altoga interface is based on an object-oriented model, that is, a model in which users search for the object that interests them in order to interact with it, execute commands, and perform operations on that object. Such an object orientation is common nowadays, but our interface has been using this model for almost 20 years now. Let us see then, in a sense, how our interface works with regard to this model.
Our interface model is very simple. The first step is to choose an option from the menu and access a panel of selection criteria filters. The second step is to enter the desired selection criteria so as to obtain a list with all the records that interest us. The third step is, on this list and over one or more records, to trigger a desired editing operation or command. And most of the time, we will be working on this list by executing editing operations and commands. Therefore, despite being an informative list and used most often for visualization, printing, and saving purposes, it is commonly referred to as work list. This is the essence of our model.
We have just presented the model on which the Altoga interface is based. In order to consolidate and better understand that model, let us briefly see an example using a module in an actual situation, in this case the Office Routine and Document Management module. In the model of the Altoga interface, we always start from links. These links can be placed on any page and even sent by email, Skype, and so on. Right from the onset, the subscriptions provide base menus for the different modules. These modules are essentially collections of links that users can use or extract to place them wherever they want. Let's take, for example, the base menu of the module Office and Document Management. Here's the option Incoming Office Document Items. To the left of this option is a button that says Add to Favorites. With a click, we immediately get two fields up here, one with the description and the other with the link, which we could copy. We also get, in this case, the panel of the Internet Explorer so as to add the link to our favorites. But in this case, we shall neither add it to favorites nor copy the link. Let's go back to the base menu and click on the option. And here is, on the left, the selection criteria panel. It is already filled in with a date, 2011-11-21, which is the most recent date containing records determined by the system. On the right is a filter indicating we do not want records from history to be displayed. We could change both the date and the filter and/or add some new criteria as well, but we will not. Let's click on the OK button so as to get the work list. Here it is. We can analyze this work list. Here is a parcel from the company AJX to the personnel department, an invoice from IPAX to the storeroom, and a letter male from alpha, and so on. We could analyze the rest of the list by using the scroll bar. And of course, we could save and/or print this list as seen in this model. However, let's perform an editing operation, in this case, edit change. Double-click on the row to access the Edit panel. Note that the Edit panel, just as the ones about operations in general, is displayed on the right-hand side of the monitor, unlike the Selection Criteria panel, which is displayed on the left-hand side of the monitor. This is important so users can locate themselves in terms of the model of the interface. This panel up here identifies the current operation, Edit, and has a yellowish background. We could now change any field and go on with the operation, but this shall be seen later on. Let's exit now. Going back to the work list which remained on the background, let's now perform another operation, elimination. That is, let's delete the record. Such an operation will be performed in a different way by selecting the row and the del button. That's the elimination button, and so we click on it. And here is the elimination panel, also displayed on the right in a different background color. So users know they are performing an elimination operation. Once again, we will not continue it, as we just want to illustrate the essential functioning of the model. Let's go back to the work list then. Let's now examine the menu of specific commands of the work list. These are specific commands for treating this object, in this case, incoming Office document items. When opening the command menu, we can see many commands available, namely, confirm, close, send internally, etc. Yet, let's also check the commands available on the rows. Such commands speed up work as they are located on the rows, and so it's not necessary to select rows in order to execute them. Just click on the desired command. On the other hand, such commands only affect the row at issue, unlike the commands found in the menu, which affect all selected rows. Let's see what is available. Check, confirm, close, send to internal unit, file, and so on. Therefore, a click on one of these commands is enough to execute it. And that's it. We have illustrated the model of the Altoga interface with an actual operation in one of our modules. We shall make a profound study of its use later on. Finally, it's important to mention how to insert the documentation and help texts for the use of the applications. These are 100% web and electronic documents help texts that are permanently updated and based in the cloud on Altoga servers. It is necessary to take into account that, in addition to this documentation, users have help desk services at their disposal to answer their questions. Services which are always included in the subscription of the modules. Let us illustrate this. The Altoga documentation model is based on repositories on the cloud, that is, on web servers. Such repositories are continuously fed and improved with more information, which is immediately available to all users worldwide. These are not only documents in the traditional sense, but also videos. There are, for instance, in this menu, links to videos, 3 videos, links to PDF files, 3 PDF files, and links to avatars, 2. Also, we are talking about link-based information. In other words, a document may have several links, which in turn may also contain several additional links. Thus, this is a non-sequential information structure and so cannot be printed as a traditional manual. It is therefore oriented to an interactive exploitation when using the applications. For example, as we are in this menu, we can click on this video link, the M510. We immediately access the video, which features the module M510, that is, the module of the menu we are currently at.
Our model for dealing with Office experience is part of the area we call General Communication and Support.
We can also click on the PDF file link. And click on the link of this informative avatar as well.
M510 Office and Document Management. This module supports.
Also, either in this menu or any other object, there are question mark icons that allow us to access information about the object at issue. When we click on it, we have instant access to the information available on incoming Office document items. Let's now access the Selection Criteria panel. The fields of this panel contain help information, and so do the panels regarding editing and command operations. If we come here to the sender and double-click on the first field, we get a document commenting on the names of entities. A double-clicking here displays a text about types of entities. And another double-clicking here displays information about the number or code of the entities. Other more contextual types of help are the ones displayed in messages, including the status bar and help prompts, which shall be addressed later on. The user has to log into the application somehow. Our modules use the HTTP Secure Protocol. Let us illustrate this by logging into a cloud account on the site of an Altoga network partner. Here we are on Minimal website, one of the main partners of the Altoga network. For us to log into the cloud account of this company, let's type DUS in the Cloud Account field and then click on Go. And the system asks for a username of the DUS account, in which case we indicate the username 510 along with its respective password. OK. The login process is complete, and here we are in the menu of the module Office and Document Management. This is the module set for the user DUS #510 to be redirected to. The login process always looks like the one shown earlier, although it may differ slightly in on-site systems according to each installation pattern. Let's not forget that if we send or copy on any page the link of an option as mentioned before, when opening this link, if we have not logged in the active browser session yet, the system will prompt the login, that is, username and password. As seen in the standard interface, the starting point is always a menu, even if summed up to only a link. However, each module has at least one base menu with the features presented as follows. There is not much to say about the menus, as they are simple and intuitive. Remember that when extracting the links available in these menus, users can arrange their own menus and provide access as they wish, on their favorites, on the pages of the website of the organization, and so on. As for their format, we notice this one is arranged into two columns. but others may have from 1 to 4 columns. There is also a format for mobile phones and PDAs, characterized by menus arranged in just one column. Also, they are simpler and adjustable to a 320-pixel wide screen. Then, it remains to choose the desired option and click on it. When we are using this option, as we can see, its background turns green. We have also seen earlier how to get help information about either the module itself or each one of the options. An important aspect to consider is that when choosing an option from the menu, that menu does not close, so another option may be chosen. However, when choosing a menu from another one, the former closes and is replaced by the last menu. This prevents the desktop from getting disorderly and overwhelmed with so many open menus. Yet, the menu now open has a button called Previous Menu, and by clicking on it, the previous menu can be restored. Finally, it should be noted that there are standard base menus for each module, although specific menus may be parameterized for each particular user. And this is the essential on menus. After selecting an object, usually an option in a menu, we usually access the panel of selection criteria filters in order to get a desired work list. It's important that this list shows only the records we want to work with. The work list should be as small as possible for the purpose we have in mind. That's why the fields of the selection criteria panel should be well filled. In general, some fields, such as the one concerning the organization we are working with, either one or another date and a key code are already filled in by default, so as to facilitate what is meant to be done. Nevertheless, as we shall see next, we can change these criteria by default or add additional ones. We must stress that when it's not the first time the user has accessed an object, the criteria panel one gets is the one used the last time. The system stores the last data used, as it is normal to base work lists on criteria similar to those used the last time. Let's see. As we have seen, when accessing the incoming items of the module Office and Document Management, the most recent date that contains records appears filled in, along with the indication we do not want the records from history to be displayed. This alone is already a good basis. By clicking on the OK button, we get a list of incoming items comprising the last day on which there are records. Yet, we can change those criteria and add other ones. In this case, it is important to understand there are equality, interval, and similarity criteria. Let's first consider an equality criterion. Here we are at the field Type of Record. With a click, we get a quick prompt displaying a list of possible values. We choose the first one, CXG, males in general. From now on, only records of the type CXG will be displayed on the work list. That's an equality criterion. By an interval criterion, we mean a date. The records of the work list will have dates ranging from 2011-11-21 to 9,999-12-31. Let's now see a similarity criterion. In this case, we use the so-called meta-characters used in SQL searches, particularly the percentage sign. If we type C% instead of CXG in the field Type of Record, not only records of the type CXG will be displayed, but also all the records whose first letter is C. This is a similarity criterion. Another meta character used in searches by similarity is the underscore character. If we type C_G instead of C% in the field type of record, all records that start with C have any character in the second position and the letter G in the third position will be then displayed. As for similarity criteria, we can also combine both percentage signs and underscore characters, before, after, or in the middle of words, according to the intended purpose. It is also worthwhile mentioning that whenever are many criteria on a panel and we wish to clear all of them, we just click on the ECR button, and all criteria will be cleared. We shall complement what we have said about criteria by drawing your attention to some specific issues that should be taken into account when filling in data on the criteria panel. Particularly, we shall deepen the following topics: types of criteria, special operators, date fields, and help prompts for filling in fields. Regarding the types of criteria, we have already seen there are three main types: equality, interval, and similarity. Yet there are filters which, by means of indications such as yes, no, or any other ones, also filtrate records for the work list. But there's more. We notice that to the right of the field subject, there is a tiny lowercase green letter, T. This means this is a text field designed for search purposes. And to the right of the field sender, there is another tiny lowercase letter, N. This means this is a name field designed for search purposes. Well, these types of fields have a special behavior regarding search criteria. For instance, both lowercase and uppercase letters may be used interchangeably in any of those fields. For example, in the field subject, when typing Mary with capital M, Mary in capital letters, or Mary in lowercase letters, the result is the same. And since this is a text field, it's represented by the letter T, the system assumes there is a percentage sign before and another one after Mary. In other words, Mary as it is, or percentage Mary percentage, means the same. As for the name field, which has the tiny n, Mary is a name that, regardless of being written in lowercase or uppercase letters, means exactly Mary. Mary percentage means a name that starts with Mary, and percentage Mary percentage means a name containing Mary in any position. One question one might ask is how to display on a work list the records containing some given fields containing data, or conversely, some records having some given fields in blank. To answer these kinds of questions are special characters which can be used in the criteria panel. For instance, if we want to display records containing references filled in, we just type a tilde sign in that field. On the other hand, if you want to display records containing references in blank, we type inverted commas. These are characters which are not used separately in the fields and thus may be interpreted for specific purposes. Another issue refers to the use of dates in the criteria panel. Firstly, it should be noted that date intervals often appear on the criteria panel as an interval between 0001, 0101, and 90,999, 1231. That does not mean anything to the system. It will not interfere in the result of the selection criteria. It's as if they were in blank. They appear in that format only to make it visually clear that they are date fields and the format they take. Secondly, as they are date fields, it's natural to have a calendar available to help the user fill them in. In fact, when typed in lowercase c in the date field, the calendar is displayed. Today is the 20th, here it is in orange. We can capture the 12th, Thursday. So we have, and here is the date in this field. Another interesting aspect is that there are quick inputs for date fields. The period prompts the current date. The lowercase I prompts the starting date of the current month. The uppercase I prompts the starting date of the current year. The lowercase f prompts the ending date of the current month. And the uppercase F prompts the ending date of the current year. The minus sign goes back a month, and the plus sign goes forward a month. As for time fields, the period prompts the current time. The lowercase I prompts the starting time of the current day, and the lowercase f prompts the ending time of the current day. Note that the calendar and quick inputs, just like a calculator, are also available in the panels with editing operations and commands. We shall address in the second video of the Altoga interface some more advanced issues involving criteria and other ones referred to earlier. However, the concepts presented in here are sufficient for everyday use. There are three types of help prompts. The first one is the quick prompt, which provides up to a dozen values to choose from. These are usually the values used most often in the field at issue. Taking the field type of record as an example, we click on it and get the quick prompt of the values available for that field. We note ellipses at the end of the prompt. That means there are more codes available not shown in here. We can choose any value shown just by clicking on it. All fields containing this green button have quick prompts, but they also open a window with all the possible codes when clicking on that button. In such a case, we can tell by the ellipses that there are more codes available than the ones shown in the quick prompt list. Let's see all of them. As we notice, the same codes that appeared in the quick prompt list are found at the beginning of the list. However, there are more codes available, 19 in this case. We can capture one of the codes for our field. There are other prompts whose buttons are red. It is the case of the sender's entity number. There may be hundreds or even thousands of entities, and so the help prompt will function differently. Clicking on it displays an intermediate help panel. We can fill in some criteria on this panel. Let's choose CL for the type of third party, along with the name IPAX percentage. We click on the OK button, and here's the code of the customer IPAX. Let's capture it. These are the essentials with regard to help prompts. We remind you that these prompts are available in all panels, that is, also on the panels with editing operations and commands. We have seen that indicating the selection criteria to obtain a work list is the first step, and we talked about the core of combining criteria and their several types. We shall address in the second video of the Altoga interface even more advanced selection features, which, either because they are very specific or require some additional preparation and knowledge, have not been included in this video. However, there is a feature which itself is easy to use and shall be addressed as follows. It's the selection metacodes. With a click on it, we immediately access the list of defined metacodes, which in this case is short. Metacodes may be defined as we please. We see, for instance, the metacodes defined for third parties, customers, suppliers, employees, and so on. Here are the ones defined for products, and here the ones defined for treasury accounts, and so on. On the row Metacode Third Parties, we can click on Jump to Code Values, and we get two metacodes. !CL3+, the metacode to select the three major customers, and !CLA01, the metacode to select the customers of the group A01. How do selection metacodes work? It's simple, as we notice. We indicate for each metacode the codes that metacode refers to. In this case, for the metacode of the three customers plus, three customers codes have been associated: CL300012, CL300004, and CL300002. Whenever we are in this application, in the selection criteria, if we enter !CL3+ in the field that identifies the third party, the system will automatically deploy that metacode into the three codes we have associated, and display the information related to these three codes. Let's illustrate that. Here on the option Third Parties in General, we access the criteria panel, and we type CL for the type of third party, along with 3% for the code of third party. We click on OK, and all customers whose codes start with 3 are displayed. Now, back to the criteria panel, we type !CL3+ in the code of third party. We click on OK, and as it turns out, we get the three third parties associated with the metacode !CL3+. This works well in all criteria panels. With this metacode, we can get the invoices of those third parties in billing, their payments in treasury, and accounting entries in accounting, and so on. We shall illustrate in the second video how these metacodes work not only in the selection criteria panels, but also in conjunction with other features so as to define and obtain, for instance, outputs tailored to each organization. Work lists are the result of the application of selection criteria. They provide lots of information at once. This is usually enough and the process ends here. Searches are performed based on criteria, and a list is obtained so the information may be viewed. However, we can go even further by choosing the records of the list editing operations, such as query, change, insertion, and elimination, which can be performed over those records. Also, specific commands available for each object may be executed over the respective records of a list. Finally, besides being viewed, the list may be also printed or saved onto the user system. Let us illustrate all this. Once again, let's briefly illustrate the path to a work list and its exploitation. Starting from the menu, we click on an option, And on the left is the selection criteria panel. We click on the OK button to move on to the work list. And here is the listing. We have already seen how to analyze and navigate through listings. Go down and up listings, perform editing operations, commands, etc. We'll also see how to print and save listings. The exploitation of a work list is easy, simple and intuitive, and uses a pattern similar to that of other software models users are so familiar with, such as the ones that support emails. We shall complement the illustration we have just presented by highlighting some particular aspects regarding the exploitation of the work lists. As we are always on the browser, it's important to mention that we can exploit features such as the zoom, so as to adjust the legibility of the listings to the user's needs. Some buttons are also found fixed at the bottom of the window, so whenever we are in the middle of the listing and cannot see it stop, we still are able to interact with it through those buttons. Even though we are at the end of the listing, the main buttons are still available. We can check what they mean on the status bar. There are two buttons on the right which we use to go to the top and bottom of the listing. Another issue relates to the selection of the records we want to be displayed on the work list. First of all, we have already seen there is an implicit selection when we click on a row or on the commands available or on those rows. This is a selected row, and only over it will we work. However, we might want to work with several rows. For that matter, there is a button on the left designed to select all the rows of the listing. In case they have already been selected, another click clears all that selection. But if we do not want to select all the rows, we can directly select any row we want by clicking on those checkboxes. Let's then select the first and third rows. Let's now finish this approach on work lists by referring to the number of records selected. If we look up here, we note 8 records have been selected. But on the left, we realize 7 of them have been displayed. In fact, it says we see the first of 2 pages, and that each page is arranged in 7 rows. We can come here and choose to go to page 2. We click and go, and here we are on page 2 of 2, which, as we can see, has only 1 record. Yet, we could come up here and choose longer pages, 50-row long pages for instance. Upon choosing 50 rows per page, we immediately get all records displayed in a single page. One last note regarding the number of records. When clicking on the criteria button of the listing, we go back to the criteria panel. There is a field max R indicating 200. That's the default value set for that field. That means the system will display at the most 200 records for that work list. This has to do with security issues, for if we inattentively click on the OK button of a criteria panel, we may select thousands of records from large tables by mistake, and that means wasting both resources and time. The panel usually has the limit set in 200, which is more than enough. If there is such an inattentive mistake, the system will display a message saying we have selected more than 200 records,
but it will only display the first 200 ones. Then we are able to refine the selection criteria accordingly. However, if we do want to select more records, then we come here and choose one of these options up to 99,999. And so all desired records will be displayed. When dealing with some listings about which we know beforehand they contain more than 200 records, for instance an accounting balance sheet, where it is normal to want all records to be displayed, then the system offers high ceilings, whether regarding the records to be selected or the ones to be displayed by page.
We have already briefly presented how basic operations such as editing, query, change, insertion, and elimination can be triggered over the records of a work list. We know that such operations are usually performed on the right-hand side of the monitor, and which show different colors so the users can easily identify the operation they are performing at any given time. Let us now further develop the 4 record editing operations. As we have a listing, let's start with a view operation. Just click on the row, and here we are on view mode, on the right-hand side of the monitor, as it always happens to editing operations. Let's now check those arrows on the right. If we take a look in here, we are at the record 1 of the listing. We click on the down arrow to move on to the record 2. A new click takes us to record 3. And likewise, by clicking on the up arrow, we can go back to record 2 and then back again to record 1. These arrows allow the navigation on the listing without having to exit the basic operation at issue. Let's perform now another operation, edit. We double-click on this row and access the edit operation. It says, change it and click on OK. That's what we could do, but we will exit and perform something else, a mass change of records. Let's select these 3 first rows. As we have selected several rows to be edited and changed, we do not click on any of those rows. We click on the ALT button instead. And so we access the Edit panel. Let's assume we have changed what we wanted and click on OK. The system displays the message, Operation Complete. And here is record 1. We click on OK, and we are quickly set to change record 2. OK, operation complete. OK again, and we move on to record 3, and so on. We could change the records on and on just by clicking on the OK button. This also applies to elimination operations. Let's move on now to an insertion operation. We click on the plus sign and access the insertion panel. There is a difference regarding the aforesaid. There are 2 options in here. We may want to insert several records always over the previous one, so as to reuse the data entered before. Hence, the OK button does not make us move on to the next record. It always inserts records over the same one. On the other hand, if we want to insert a record over the next one on the listing, we just use the arrow to move forward. Let's finish this approach by recalling that, as mentioned in the chapter on selection criteria, there is a set of features such as quick inputs, a calendar, and help prompts that also apply to panels with editing operations. There is even a very useful feature that prompts a calculator, shown as follows. We are at the insertion panel of monthly inputs of human resources. We wish to insert a value that is 50% higher than the 10 shown in here. Let's type the lowercase c in this field, just as we do to prompt the calendar application, and a calculator appears displaying the amount 10 from the field. As we wish the amount to be 50% higher, we multiply it by 1.5, and we get 15. Then we click on the insertion button, and the amount 15 is captured in that field. Jumps and commands are very similar features with regard to their execution. These are links that are found in specific menus of jumps and commands, most often on work lists. In this case, lines are chosen from the list, and then one can either select a jump or a command from the menu in order for it to be executed. However, they may also be presented as simple links in the records, that is, on the lines of the lists. In this case, just click on the link as it already is on the line at issue. Let's illustrate that. As mentioned before, jumps and commands present similar execution features. The difference lies on the fact that jumps are usually links to work lists of another object. For instance, if we check the row 6 of this listing, we note the link EVN displaying the number 3. If we place the cursor over it, we see that's a jump to events. In other words, Office Management events associated with that item, in this case, 3 events. We click on that link and get a listing with all the 3 events at issue, an entry confirmation, and then 2 consecutive internal dispatches. We shall not deepen the subject, but the important thing is that it's a regular work list which we can work with just like any other one, be it in terms of visualization, operations, commands, printing, and so on. As for the commands, these may vary greatly depending on the object we are working on. For instance, we see the command V on the second row. By placing the cursor over it, we notice it's designed to check, confirm the record data. We click on it and see, in green on the right, that the record status has changed now to confirm it. The command P makes the record status go back to pending, as it was before. We click on it, and the record status is pending once again. The commands V and P appear in many objects, since the command V is used to confirm the record data and protect it from changes. Only by making the record status go back to pending can we edit and change the data. Another usual command is PRD. As we can see, it is designed to get a document formatted for printing. We click on it, and so we get that document. It's a kind of receipt, an individual protocol, which can be used to monitor the physical delivery of this item to a recipient, in this case an invoice. The following command, UE, on the same record, is designed to send this item electronically to an internal unit, department, or person. We click on it, and the system opens a panel partially filled in for sending purposes, where we have to indicate the recipient, occasional remarks, and so on. We believe these examples have illustrated how jumps and commands work in our interface, and given you a good idea on the intelligence they can provide the system with, so application needs can be met. The Altoga interface is 100% web, and therefore is subject to the facilities of the web browser. It's the browser that controls and interacts with the local devices, namely printers and drives. So the printing and saving facilities are the ones available in that browser. What the applications do is to prepare the pages in the browser in a proper way, so they can be printed or saved onto a disk. The rest is up to the browser. Let's see. We, therefore, always work under the browser. The links for printing and saving available in the interface only prepare the pages for that given purpose, and as for printing, trigger the command print from the browser. We click on print and see that the page has been set for printing purposes and a window opens so a printer may be chosen. We draw your attention to the fact that having a printer set to print documents in PDF format is very useful, as our intention is often getting a PDF document and then send it via email, for example, thereby eliminating the use of paper. That's what we want to do. Here is a printer set to create PDF files. And here is the PDF document resulting from printing. Now we click on Save, and the page is set to be saved. However, according to this message, we will have to do so as per the facilities available in our browser. Let's go on. When running the command save, the system prompts formats to choose from. If we want to send someone something very similar to what we see on the monitor, then we should choose the .magt file extension format. That's what we'll do. And here we have the file sample.magt. When we open it, we get an image very similar to the one we had saved. Another interesting possibility that's worth exploiting is saving a file and then open it in Excel or Word, or of course in OpenOffice. Besides the options print and save, there's also a feature to extract information from the system, which is the export of data, particularly to Excel spreadsheets. Such an export feature is very simple, as will be shown next. More advanced features shall be presented on the second video of the Altoga interface. Back to the criteria panel. When clicking on OK, we already know we get a work list. Well, instead of clicking on OK again, we just click on the button XPT. And the system will export the work list to Excel rather than displaying it. Let's see it. There. Here is the Excel spreadsheet. Well, this listing, of course, can be printed, saved, or converted to PDF. However, in addition to these facilities, our interface has a very interesting one, and as it greatly benefits from the web, we shall exemplify next. There is the button LNK, which, as we can see, creates a permanent link of the page. We click on it, and the page does not change substantially, and shows this link up here. Let's capture it to the clipboard. It's done. Well, what's happened? The system got the page we were looking at and saved it in a public address with that link we captured. Now we can send that link to someone, for instance a customer or an auditor, via Skype, email or other means, and that someone will immediately be able to view the information we were examining, print it, and so on. As the information is in a public address, what guarantees its confidentiality towards third parties? As shown, the link is generated with a large sequence of random characters, Only those who actually receive the link and have this sequence can access the information. Let's send this link to someone via Skype. We are now moving to the Skype user who received the link. We click on it, and that's it. This Skype user, who may not have access to our applications and can be anywhere, immediately accesses that listing, the output we were viewing, and has the possibility of saving and printing it, and so on. The only difference between this page sent by link and the original one is that there is a message up here, identifying who sent the link and the exact time and date the original page has been copied to a permanent link, so as the page information can be properly framed when it was first generated. It also displays the party responsible for sending the link. What we have just shown applies to any page, for example, an invoice. We generate the link to the invoice and send it out, and the person who receives it, even without having our applications and being anywhere, can access that invoice, save it, print it, and so on. One of the most general and important features of our interface is the possibility to associate file links to records. The files thus become attachments of those records. We can see in this list that this record, which refers to the entry of an invoice, has 3 attachments. We have attached 3 files so as to show the 3 possible types of attachments. We see that this attachment has an I, which means it is an attachment that is in our intranet, on a disk of our network. This attachment has a W, because it is on the web. And this one has a U, because it is the upload of a file, that is, a file that has been placed on the server by means of upload. Let's first see the attachment W. By clicking on it, we access the Altoga website. Now we can see that the links I and U seem to relate to the same invoice. Yes, indeed they do. But the link I points to the file of the invoice that is on our network, and the link U points to what is on our server. Of course, in a normal situation, we would not attach the same invoice twice. We did it just for ease of explanation. Let's observe a major difference. We click on the upload link and immediately access the PDF of that invoice. But notice up here, we have a link to our server. We can even send this link to anyone, and even if he does not have our applications, the recipient will access this file without problems. This link, as exemplified before, when sending pages through links, is also safe. Only those who receive it can access the file. Now, let's look at this link to our network. To see it, a simple click may not be enough, because this type of link to our network has been subject to more stringent security in browsers. In this case, we access it as follows. With the right mouse button, we get a menu that has an option to save the link. Let's do it. Here is the same invoice. Which link to choose? The type I or the type U? As we shall see, the link U, while in the attaching process, requires the upload of the file onto the server, which can take some time, requires better communications, and consumes space on the server. The link I is instantaneous and saves onto the server only a link to the file on our network. In this case, the file is always on the customer's premises, on their network. Let's now see how to attach files. Let's enter into the edit mode of this record. Here we see the message, there are attachments. Let's access the panel Attachments. And we see more clearly the three types of links: intranet links, web links, and uploaded files. We shall remove these attachments. Remove, remove, and remove. We refresh the system up here and exit. We notice that in the listing, the record that we were working on has no longer links. Let's go back to the edit mode and see how to create attachments. We enter and we are in the panel Attachments. We come here, Browse, and click to search the invoice. And here it is. We load it and here is the path for the file. Down here we click on Upload File. The system warns it will upload. And this is it. The upload has been done and the attachment is up here. We refresh the system and exit. And here is the attachment of the type U. Let's now see an attachment of the type I. We are in the panel Attachments and search the file, as we did for the upload. In this case, here is the file, but the button for the intranet link is up here. We have to copy this link as this is a browser security restriction. It takes human intervention to associate a link to our network. We have copied the link and click on Intranet Link. OK, here is the attachment up here. For attachments of the type W, it only takes going to the web, copying the link, placing it in this field, and clicking on Web URL. And that's it. We have presented the general features for attaching files. In the second video on the Altoga interface, we shall see, in some situations, for instance, in feeding a large document base, how attachments can be associated through a mass processing. An important issue that our interface covers has to do with the fact that our applications are cross-sectional and can be used in many sectors and countries, both in small-sized and large organizations. That's why many of our criteria and edition panels contain these buttons, which in this case are shown in blue. All of them contain help information, classification, entity codes, organic unit codes, reference, file, distribution list, office management group, connections. What are these buttons for? They are used to adjust the panel to the needs of organizations and users. Each button represents fields that can be hidden or activated. In this case, as they are all shown in blue, they are all disabled. For instance, if we wanted to treat office and document management items with both issuing and recipient entities, it would suffice to click on Entities. And the fields would immediately be displayed so we can fill in the entity codes. If we wanted to treat the items in a more structured way, with the codes of organization units, departments, either issuing or recipients, it would suffice to click on Organization Unit Codes. And if we wanted to treat the items in an even more structured way, relating the Office document items with other objects such as processes, contracts, products, services, other Office document items, and so on, it would suffice to click on Connections. And that's it. The Connections panel would be enabled. We would click on its tag and have access to all these fields. In short, the user can adapt to the panels and the system keeps such settings. In the next access, those panels would be displayed as the user had configured them. And whenever we want to go back to the initial setup, we just reset the panel. We click on the command Reset, and that's it. We are back to the initial setup of this object. Displaying results in the form of charts is essential in management support applications. Regardless of relying on specific business intelligence features, which include the possibility of creating indexes and on-demand charts, many of the modules already have standard graphic outputs. Let's see an example and show how they work. Let's choose in the menu of the module Accounting Management the option Evolution of Accounts per Third Party. We access the Criteria panel and ask for account 7%, which in the chart of accounts of this example represents sales accounts, and in the field Third Party we type CL along with the metacode !CLA, which has been defined to represent our Class A customers. We choose the year of 2010 and we click on OK. We get the list of the 4 customers associated with that metacode. Each line represents a customer along with its total sales throughout that year. Notice there is the button GRC used to integrate the graphs into this listing. We click on it and we instantly get 2 graphs. A pie chart on the left displaying the sales per customer. This is a vertical section in the table of values. This chart represents a column. At this moment, it represents the column of total sales, but with a simple click we could choose any other one. On the right is a graph containing 4 lines representing the evolution of sales per customer over the months. The graphs on the right represent, therefore, the rows of the table of values, in this case all the rows, but we could select only one or a few rows. Now, within each chart, we can turn it into other charts through simple clicks. On the left, on the pie chart, we click on bar and get the same sales per customer in a bar chart. On the right, however, out of the many transformation options available, we click on Line Stack and get the corresponding chart depicting the evolution of sales of each customer accumulated over each other in different colors. So it is possible to simultaneously view the evolution of total sales and the sales of each customer differentiated by their colors. We can also integrate this whole page into reports, but we can make the graph become autonomic. For instance, we click on Zoom on the right and get the graph on an autonomic page, which might be printed or included in a report. And that's it. We think that with this we have provided enough information so as to explore our standard charts integrated into different modules, all within the reach of simple clicks. We have presented in this video the essentials of the Altoga interface used in all our modules. We have also shown the importance of this interface to be common to all modules, simple and easy to learn, robust, put to the test through many years of practice, comprehensive in terms of facilities, and 100% web. We have shown the interface along with the necessary details for a first evaluation by your organization, upon checking our modules that support different management areas. We remind you that this dialogue can be deepened so we can better analyze your needs and our answers to them. We and the network of partners we integrate are fully available and prepared to listen to and support you.